Thank you, Laura. Hi, it is my pleasure to introduce Katie. Katie Caldwell is our fourth Jill Abrahamson Memorial Environmental Education intern, and the first one to be here as we start to transition into a period where we have a hybrid system in our education program, both virtual world and our in-person world. So she's going to go through her internships, which started in last October, and take you through that journey. And I think it'll be around 30 minutes. Katie has a degree in biology from Rollins College, and it's always exciting when I have applicants that are from Florida or went to school in Florida, because then I know that they're going to be able to deal with the summer heat and all of that kind of stuff. And she did really good with that. Summer camp is the big event of the year for our education program. And so I wanted to just give a little bit of a picture of Katie as a summer camp educator. To work with kids in that kind of situation, you have to have some skills that not everyone has, or some personality traits. You have to be unafraid to be silly with the kids, to not worry if you're looking cool or not cool, to model joy and wonder. You have to break down and take on all those masks that we learned to put on as we grew up into adults, to inspire the kids. And she did a really good job with this. And the way that I can grade her is when the kids have a choice of whose truck they're going to get in when we drive to the ranch on Thursdays. And by the last week or two of summer camp, and kids have no regard for the feelings of adults. By the last week or two, we'd go, all right, we're going to walk to the trucks. Mr. Dustin will drive, Miss Katie will drive, and they're all running to Katie's truck and didn't care at all about my feelings. So I knew that she was really had won them over. And I would tell the kids, Katie's also transitioning. She's not going to just be an intern here anymore. She's been here for 10 months and her internship is over. She is now going to be our first education assistant in the last decade. And so they're all excited to see her again at summer camp next year. This is a big deal. She kind of had 10 months of on-site training through her internship, and in August made that transition to being the education assistant, and is doing a fantastic job. So Katie, I will pass it on to you. Enjoy, everybody.
Awesome. Thank you, Dustin. So my presentation is entitled Integrating Virtual and In-Person Programs, New Challenges, New Opportunities. It goes without saying that in 2020, with the onset of COVID, that there were unprecedented challenges that everyone was facing. And even though I wasn't here at the time, I think the education program did a great job of making some really cool virtual content. But as I started in the end of 2021, things were starting to open up again, and we were having the in-person programs start back up, like Dustin had mentioned. And with that, we were facing new sorts of challenges of balancing both of these programs that we want to do. But at the same time, we had new opportunities, because with virtual, we had a greater reach. But as we opened up our in-person programs again, we were able to strengthen our local ties again. So I'm excited to talk about all the things that I got to do through my internship and how they all play in. First, a little bit about me. As Dustin mentioned, I have a background in biology. I graduated from Rollins College in the spring of 2021. I originally was planning on doing animal physiology. That was what my undergraduate research was in, but I always had a spot for science education. I thought it was a really important part of being a scientist was to be an educator too. So when I saw this internship, I thought it'd be a great opportunity to strengthen my skills as an educator before going off to grad school. Little did I know that this internship would change my entire trajectory, but that's okay. So I was the 2021-2022 Jill Abrahamson Memorial Environmental Education intern for that school year. I want to do a quick thanks to Abe and Chris for your generosity making all of these things happen. And I am going to be talking about quite a few things. So typically an intern seminar would be one independent project, but throughout my time here, I've worked on so many different things. I'm not even gonna get to touch on everything that I've had small parts in, but hopefully I'll be able to cover all of the big things that I worked on. So I'll be talking about my professional development experiences that I got through conferences and classes. I'll be talking about diversity, equity, inclusion, or DEI, which was a big part of my internship as well. Then I'll get into our virtual programs, our in-person programs, a bit about our volunteer program, and then finally I'll end on my 2 independent projects that I did. One is a ScrubJ lesson plan, and the other one is my videography project. Awesome. So the first conference that I attended was actually the first week I got here, leaving by the end of the week. It was the Florida Association of Science Teachers Conference, or the FAST conference. And this was a really cool opportunity. It was the first conference I ever attended, and I was still really fresh to Archibald. So it was cool to learn a little bit more about what Dustin was doing through his presentation. And the cool thing about this conference is that it is targeted towards formal educators. So this is for science teachers, not really environmental educators. So through this, we got some feedback from teachers about what kind of content they would find useful from us. And it even led to the creation of my lesson plan. That's where I got the idea, but I'll talk a little bit more about that. The second conference I attended was the League of Environmental Educators in Florida, or the LEAF conference, and that was in April of this year. And this was a really influential conference for me, and I had a much greater role in it than I did the FAST conference. I was actually on the conference planning committee. As I mentioned, the FAST conference was the first conference I ever attended, so I wasn't the most helpful with new ideas and planning, but I definitely got to learn a lot through those meetings. There are some really passionate educators who wanted to make this great conference happen. It was the first time that this conference was in person after 2 years, so they were also navigating some different challenges, and they ended up creating a really beautiful conference in the process. I did also host a workshop, Nature Videography 101. It was styled as a share-a-thon, so ended up being more of like a consultation where I talked one-on-one with different educators and discussed how they could make their own videos for their programs, what kind of equipment they would need, what editing software I recommend, so on and so forth. I didn't have much experience with videography before. I'll talk a little bit more about that when I get to the videography project, but this was a really cool opportunity to meet some educators, learn about their programs, and share a skill that I had developed. And finally, I was also the conference videographer. So I recorded it and edited all of the different sessions I went to, all the different workshops, field trips, and so on. I put together a little video, and I'm gonna actually share it today because I figured most people here have never been to an environmental education conference, and it was actually a lot of fun and really cool. So I'm gonna play that for you now.
And the year is 1863, a long, long time ago.
Dustin mentioned the Florida Wildlife Corridor Act, and we're really glad that that passed.
Join us. Come to our board meetings. There's so much history. There's so much culture that we need to now move to the next generation.
One has no right to love or hate that which one does not first adequately understand. Great love springs from great knowledge of the beloved object, and if one knows it but little, one can love it but little, if at all.
Somebody looking for 80. $80 for this one-of-a-kind item. 80 right here. We have $40. Got 40 right here. 40 right here. We got 55 right here. 55. Look for 60. We have 60 right there.
Do not burn yourselves out. Be as I am, a reluctant enthusiast, a part-time crusader, a half-hearted fanatic. Save the other half of yourselves and your lives for pleasure and adventure. It's not enough to fight for the land, it is even more important to enjoy it while you can, while it's still here.
Cool, so I hope you enjoyed that. I did want to note that this conference was really the moment that I decided that I wanted to pursue environmental education, even before I knew that there'd be an opportunity for me to stay at Archibald. So I'm really grateful that I got to go to there. And now onto the classes I got to take. So the first one I took was sponsored through Cornell University Civic Ecology Lab. It was called Environmental Education and Community Engagement. This course was all about building partnerships with communities. It was a virtual course. It was mostly recorded seminars, different webinars, discussion boards, and I got to learn all about ways to engage your community to meet shared goals. So that was a very important class that I took. It really helped me understand outreach better and ways to interact with communities in a meaningful way. The second class I took was another virtual class. It was called Don't Waste It. And it's a class for educators that talks about waste management, recycling, composting, waste reduction. And that was sponsored through the Southeastern Environmental Education Alliance. And this one was actually free to take through LEAF. So that was very fun as well. This doesn't pertain as much to my job or into what we teach children through our programs, but it was great for facilitating conversations with the students, like the summer campers, about waste and where it goes. So awesome. And then another part of my internship that played a large role was diversity, equity, and inclusion, or DEI. So beginning of January, we started the cohort, which featured 7 weekly workshops on DEI. It was facilitated by Cream City Conservation and Consulting. Our main facilitator was August Ball. And we touched on a range of topics from communication styles and leadership styles to the history of environmental racism, implicit biases, intersectionality, and then different tools to make a more equitable organization. Following those workshops, I was part of the working group that developed the organizational work plan. So that's now available on Archibald's website. And this goes through the steps we're going to take to implement some different DEI principles into Archibald overall. I want to quickly plug the current DEI working group. We currently meet on Tuesdays. If anyone at Archibald is interested in joining, feel free to email me at dei@archibaldstation.org. We have a great solid team who's doing a lot of hard work, but we can always use more hands on deck. So feel free to reach out if you're interested. Wonderful. And now we're getting into the programming. So for our virtual programs, the main 2 options we had were Nature Wonder Alive, which were our live streams, and then virtual classroom visits. So we held 6 live streams for this school year. Typically, or in years past at least, they had done it more frequently, even weekly. But as we were integrating our in-person programs, we cut back to just monthly. I was usually in charge of hosting the Zoom, which meant I would go over the rules. I would ask Dustin the questions at the end, make sure that everything looks good, running smoothly, no lagging and so on. And the one time that I was behind the selfie stick because Dustin was at a teacher training, I was truly humbled. I faced about every technical difficulty imaginable, and I have to give props to Dustin for making it look so easy. I definitely learned a lot of things that time. So if I ever do end up behind the selfie stick for a live stream again, I know what to work on. Additionally, I also edited the videos down for YouTube, made little thumbnails, cut out any lagging parts, and we got those posted as well. As far as our virtual classroom visits, we only had one session this year. We do have two options, a choose your own adventure type option that the previous intern Margaret had made, and then also the snakes and skulls. So that was the one that Dustin and I hosted this year. It was for a Florida virtual school, little group, about 12 students. And I hosted the part of the snakes with Miss Poser, and he did the skull portion. It was interesting that we had only one session. It was more popular previous years. But like I said, it makes sense because we were starting our in-person programs again. So we led 5 field trips this year for Highlands County schools. That includes a scrub hike, meeting Miss Poser, getting to touch her and everything, learning about our weather station. And then finally, at the end of our field trips, we take the students up to the overlook in the lodge, and the students make a scrub pledge. Basically, it's I promise to tell 2 people about the Florida scrub. So making sure we're passing on the knowledge to the parents, siblings, so on. We also, I judged 3 science fairs this year at the county level, regional level, and state level. This was the main outreach that I did outside of Archibald. A lot of the programs we normally do still haven't opened up in the full capacity that they were before. But it was really cool that the science fairs were back in person, and I had so much fun judging them. The students really produced some impressive work. Their projects were way beyond anything I ever did in a middle school science fair. So that was a very cool and fun experience to get to participate in. And finally, summer camp. So we did 6 full weeks of camp this year. Typically, the sponsored camps with Costa Farms are just a 2-day camp, but after talking to our point person at Costa and working things out, they really were interested in doing a full week of camp. So we did it. And camp was one of the most exhausting things I've ever done, but it was incredibly rewarding. I got a few pictures here. We would go out into the seasonal pond to catch tadpoles and little creepy crawlies, whatever we could find. We would do some coloring as a cool down time because the Florida heat really is killer that time of year. And that bottom picture there is me leading an art activity where the campers got to go collect natural items and then make their own sculptures and art with them. So that was the picture on the About Me slide that said Katie. That was Yesenia's project she did for that art activity. We also take a lot of time practicing our observation skills. We get to meet scientists. That bottom picture is Emily showing me the baby fish that had just been born, and it was a lot of fun. We go to the ranch also, do a lot of hiking. Camp was incredibly fun. I can keep saying it all day long, but it was really great. Awesome. So the last program I want to talk about was just our volunteer program. Our volunteer program was definitely less active than than before COVID, because there are some more restrictions, but we did get to have our weekly meetings with our volunteer coordinator to try to find any possible work for the existing volunteers to do. And then we also hosted our first volunteer appreciation luncheon since COVID. So that was really fun. We did a scrub tour and then did lunch at Lake Annie. So any of the volunteers that had helped in the past few years all came to be appreciated. So our volunteers really did make things happen though. They were part of the field trips, the summer camp experience. They are incredibly helpful in the education department. Awesome. And now we're getting on to my 2 independent projects. So the lesson plan was born out of teachers requesting data-based resources. It makes sense as Archibald is a unique situation where we have the beautiful preserved scrub, but we also have scientists and long-term data sets. So with that request, I figured it was something that made a lot of sense for us to produce. I used the relationship between Florida scrub jays and fire to teach basic experimental design and data analysis. So the lesson plan was formatted in a worksheet for students and then a review PowerPoint for teachers to go over following the worksheet. And the worksheet's formatted pretty much like a scientific study. There's a research background, which is equivalent to a literature review. Then the students are posed a research question, and they have to make their own hypothesis using support from the research background. And then they learn a little bit about experimental design, demographic data, bird banding, and after that, they will analyze the data present and mention any trends that they notice. And then finally, they even do some management planning where they discuss how often the scrub should be burned. And then they must pose their own research question for further research that they would be interested in. And then teachers are encouraged to let the students do that research afterwards. I mean, not obviously a full experimental design, but to look it up, see if any of their questions had been asked before and answered before. And if they haven't, maybe I'm just preparing some new bird interns for their independent project when they get here. So this is a little bit more complicated. So this targets high schoolers. Most of our programming is for elementary schoolers. So making something for 9th to 12th graders is expanding our reach in a different way. The main limitation I had when producing this lesson plan was the timeline. So by the time I completed the full lesson plan, had it all done, packaged, ready to go, it was the end of the school year. So getting a hold of teachers was quite difficult in April, May. So that is on to my next steps. I hope to continue to reach out to Highlands County high schools first. I think it's important, especially as this is a location-based lesson plan, that Highlands County students would be the ones who see it first and I think would benefit the most from it. But still, I will be presenting at FAST this year. So it all comes full circle. Hopefully through that, I'll be able to get more teacher feedback, make any changes. And once we are up and running, we will be posting this to our education website, and it'll be free for any teacher to use. Awesome. And finally, my last project was my videography project. So this began by me producing a video for the Nature Wonder Alive. I was often in charge of organizing guest scientists, making sure that if they had any questions, I'd answer them beforehand, make sure they knew when the Zoom would be and our expectations. And throughout that process, I would sometimes offer to make a video. They do take a while to edit, so it was only if time permitted, but I got to make a few videos of scientists doing their research, explaining why they're doing their research, and they turned out to be cute little 5-minute videos. Excuse me. So as I had mentioned, I did not know anything about video production prior to getting here, but it was one skill that I really worked on, especially at the beginning of my internship. So I learned how to make a video, learning about the background, the lighting, the audio. I learned the hard way that one gust of wind will ruin the audio for a whole clip. So there were lessons learned throughout the process, but I think it's a skill I've really honed throughout my time here, especially the editing part. That part is also a little bit difficult, but once you got the tricks and tips down, it's quite an easy process. So the 4 video, oopsies. The 4 videos that I made during the internship, in addition to the leaf video, was one of Alon Tran collecting mushrooms out in the field and explaining the process of adding them to the fungal herbarium here at Archibald. I made one of Liz Abrams replacing an RCW cavity box, so the red-cockaded woodpeckers. It was just an old box that had been damaged, so we got to see the process of chainsawing it out and replacing it, and also learning a little bit more about the project throughout the process. And then we also went over to the ranch to learn a little bit about soil nutrients with Maya Zambrano Lee. She went through the process of collecting soil, taking it to the lab, and analyzing it for nitrogen and phosphorus. So that's also quite a cute video. And then the final one was the day in the life of an environmental education intern. I don't believe this one is actually up on our YouTube yet. I believe there were some final approvals that needed to be done, but it should be up soon. And for all of you today, I have a quick edited down version. This is a little bit shorter than the version that will be going up on YouTube, but it covers the main parts of it. So I hope you enjoy. Good morning, I'm Katie Caldwell, and I'm the Environmental Education Intern here at Archibald Biological Station. Today, I'm going to walk you through a day in my life. So far, I've only made my bed. I need to go get dressed and ready. So I'll go do that, and I'll catch up with you guys in a second before I head off to work. Awesome, so I got my overalls on, and I am ready to take on the day. And just like that, I am at the office. So I stopped by the kitchen also after I got here and grabbed a little bit of breakfast. It's really convenient, the kitchen is right next door. And then I'm going to get started on some of my office work for today. So now I'm going to go and clean out the snakes' cages. I finished up my press release. And first one up is Poser. She's a Florida pine snake, and I will be giving her house a quick little cleanup. What do you think?
Welcome to the kitchen!
Hey everyone, I'm parked right now, but I'm about to head over to Buck Island Ranch to go finish up my work day, doing some recordings, and yeah, I'll get some footage over there to show you how cool my job is. Hey everyone, I just got back to Archibald and I am outside of my dorm right now. I wanted to do a quick goodbye though. I had such a long day and I am ready to go make dinner and head to bed. Thanks for coming along with me today. This is just a snapshot into my daily life. Throughout my internship, I've had opportunities to work on all sorts of different projects, like leading field trips and creating social media posts, and maintaining our trails, and editing videos like this one. And that's not even touching on all the things that we do as interns outside of work. We have traditions like waffle night, or we'll get outdoors and go catch siren in the seasonal ponds here at Archibald. Or sometimes we even go on trips like to the Everglades. I've had a lot of fun so far and have learned a lot along the way. Awesome. I think it's great to end on that video because it gives a great overview of my internship. So before I get to questions, I want to do a quick thank you. Abe and Chris, thank you again for your generosity. Everything that I've done in the past 10 months would not have been possible without you two. So I'm super grateful for the opportunity to have this internship, and it really did have a great impact in my life. Additionally, I want to thank Dustin. You've been an incredible mentor, and it feels great to be learning from such a passionate and skilled educator. I really think I'm learning from the best. And I also want to thank the DEI working group, first for your hard work and also for providing a safe space here at Archibald. I love being part of the work we're doing, and I look forward to keep working with all of you. I also want to do a thanks to Laura, Nova, and Sharon. I feel like about 90% of my problems have been fixed or answered by one of you three. So thank you for all of your help and some of the work that might go unnoticed. I really appreciate it. I want to thank Reed for helping out with the lesson plan. He was the one who got me all those graphs and looked through the lesson plan to make sure that my Scrub J biology was on point. So I appreciate your help with that. And then I just want to thank all the residential staff. My internship was incredible fun time. Living on station was so much fun. So I want to thank you for making it such a great experience. And with that, I am good to move on to questions.
Wonderful. I will help moderate the questions here. So please, everyone, you can throw questions in the Q&A. If you go and find that little button, or put them right in the comment section is fine too. If we were all together, I think we would all give Katie a round of applause. You can see how lucky we were to keep her on as a staff person. When you look at all of her skills, we're so lucky that she's staying. So, and I see some nice comments in the chat right there about everybody going, "Oh my gosh, Katie's amazing."
Oh, thank you, everyone.
So we do have some questions coming in.
Okay.
We have, do many summer camp children repeat in subsequent years? That's a question coming in from Abe.
Oh, yes, definitely. And it was actually interesting that this year campers haven't been to camp, especially the younger kids. So that was kind of a new thing for Dustin, at least. It was really cool looking back at some of the pictures I had seen from camp and recognizing our now teen volunteers working and helping at the camp. So yes, we even had some of the campers come back as volunteers every single year up until they're 17. So from 7 to 17, they'll be at summer camp. So it's very cool. And yes, I'm very excited to make those relationships with kids in the upcoming years.
There's two, I see two more camp specific questions. So I'll do both of them. What's one of your favorite memories, a summer camp memory?
Oh, that's really hard. I will say one of the coolest things was during the herpetology science visit. I was walking with Jack Christie, and he was talking about tortoises and everything. And then suddenly we noticed a Eastern diamondback rattlesnake, a huge one, probably about 4 or 5 feet, just sitting on the edge of the driveway. And all of the kids were so excited. I was so excited. It was a really cool experience. And it's great to have the herp guy right there to answer all the questions about it. So it worked out really well and it was very cool.
Can you say one of your biggest challenges relating to summer camp?
Ooh, yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges with camp was some of the difficult conversations that I wasn't expecting. I would get that, yeah, my dad's in prison, my parents are getting a divorce, so on and so forth. There's some really tough topics that you have to have conversations with these kids, and they look for you as a listening ear. So it was one of the things that I was ready for this first at some extent, but am more prepared for it going forward.
I think this is a pretty similar question, but maybe you'll take it in a different direction. What are some obstacles you faced with summer camp activities? I think specifically about activities. How would you work towards a solution in the future?
Ooh, summer camp activities. I think some of it is reining the kids in. So one specific thing I'm thinking about is that we gave kids little digital cameras for them to do like a photo scavenger hunt with was one of the activities. But sometimes we would just give them to the kids and say, go take pictures while we're on this hike. And oh boy, did they run wild with it. None of the kids wanted to share. They all wanted the camera. And it was such a simple little digital camera, nothing close to a smartphone or anything. But I think next year, definitely having more structure around some of those more distracting activities during camp would be a good way to keep them focused, even though it is really fun to have a camera and taking pictures out in nature. So I understand the excitement.
We have lots of stories if you ever want to ask us questions about summer camp. We have one from Shriram. How did you all try to inspire kids to care about the outdoors if they couldn't go outside or see what you were talking about?
Yeah, I think our virtual programs, I will definitely say Dustin does a great job at this, to get out and do those virtual tours. They really inspire wonder. It is really difficult because getting kids outside, I think, is the easiest way to get them to feel inspired and get them to care about the world around them. Once they're outside, you can really see their wonder spark. So yeah, I think it's just keeping the excitement yourself and replicating what you want to see as a response in them. So being really interested, really excited is the best way to keep the kids interested.
And what was the most helpful or your favorite skill that you learned during your internship? This is from Akeem. He says, I personally think the video editing is very slick.
Oh, thank you, Akeem. That's definitely one of my favorite skills I've learned. I think it's really fun to put together a video now. And also anyone who is working here at Archibald, if you want a little video put together about the research you're doing, feel free to email me. I am happy to make more videos. But I think just being an educator, I know that's a huge skill to learn, but I was coming in with a science background and not much of an education background. So just how to reach children in a way that they, in the way that they receive is probably the best skill I learned for the internship.
And just any other thinking about camp next year, any other areas that you would want to prepare more for, or maybe thinking about our next year when I'll mostly be backed out of camp and it'll be mostly you and another intern running camp. What do we think we need to worry about and get ready for? Right.
Personally, I think I need to work out a little bit more before camp because after that first week, I was very sore, but more focused on camp. Yeah, I think being ready for those hard conversations, I didn't always have something ready to go. I think being able to handle those hard conversations, especially when I can't go to Dustin at any time and say, hey, there's something going on over there. Being the one to be prepared for those harder conversations would be probably what I will prepare for a little bit better. Yeah, I think those two things.
That's all the questions, unless anybody else real quick wants to stick one in the chat. But I hope Katie, well, we can grab the chat later too, so you can look at all the comments on there. But there's some really nice things in the chat. So thank you everyone for coming on. Thank you, Katie, for your great work. And I'm so glad that we will have you into the future and I get to share all this fantastic work with you.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. And thank you everyone for your sweet words in the chat.
Yes, we are so happy to have you on the staff now, Katie. Oh. Thanks again, everyone, for attending today. Join us for more seminars next week. We have an avian ecology double feature on Tuesday at a special time at 2:30 p.m. And on Thursday at our regular time of 3:30, we have a distinguished speaker seminar by Dr. Justine Becker. We hope to see you all then.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.